We have left. We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand.
Welcome to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
Welcome to another episode of Search Talk Live. I'm Robert O'Haver. With me today, I have Caleb McKelvin. Caleb,
what's going on, Robert?
What's going on? And those of you your first time listening in the show, we talk about just about anything that has to do with digital. It could be social media, search engine optimization, search engine marketing, or you name it. Anything to do with digital.
Yeah, absolutely. We love it all. It's a huge industry. There's so much that goes into it. We try to cover as much as we can, but it's so much fun to talk about. We try to make it as fun and exciting as possible, which can be hard at times because, I mean, let's not lie, digital marketing, SEO, social media can sometimes be a dull, but we make it fun here.
Yeah. Now, just those of you who are first time listening, I want to give you just a kind of a little bit about our show. I mean, we're broadcasted on iTunes. We're also on Spreaker, which is where we do our distribution from. We also distribute it. Can't even talk. Distribute it.
Here it is.
To YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and now we're on Blab.
Yeah,
which is awesome. I love Blab. I'm so addicted to it.
Man, love Blab. We've actually been. I know you've been on it a lot lately. I've been using it a lot lately just to see what's going on, how people are using it, the interaction that's going on it, and I believe it has taken off. It is pretty cool, and so we're really excited to utilize this platform today and hopefully get some awesome interaction.
Yeah, and those of you that are listening and watching us on Blab, you can call into the show if you have questions. The number here is 855-722-0006. You can call in with your questions. I put the number in the chat. It should be there somewhere. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can call in to the show live, or you can just type your question in the text box, and we'll answer any of your SEO questions you might have. But today's topic, we're going over quite a big thing. It's WordPress SEO. A lot of people are on the platform, and think it would be a great topic to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's something that a lot of people take advantage of, whether you are big into digital marketing, whether you're just developing a website for your small business, whether you just want a content site, whatever it may be, WordPress can pretty much do it. But you got to make sure that you're utilizing it correctly and you have it set up to where people can find it. And, it's SEO friendly, it's user friendly. It's got everything you need, so we're going to cover all those basics today.
Yeah, and we're going to try and cover all those bases.
Try. Well, there you go.
Hour,
we'll try.
So.
We can't promise anything.
Yeah.
We'll try.
So where do you want to start at?
Oh, man.
You want to go from installation to... No, I'm kidding.
Just from the ground floor. Well, WordPress it's a big monster to tackle. I think we'll start here. An awesome article I did read, Search Engine Land, which is one where we, really like to get SEO content from. We can really kind of start from the ground floor. And a question that they had, I think is a good thing, is some people think WordPress is already right out of the box. You kind of open it up and it's kind of search engine optimized already.
It's like the Acme. You just hit the button.
You just hit the button and boom, it's like the pop-up book. You got it all right there. People are going to find you. Your content's going to be indexed. Everything's going to be good. So I think that's kind of a misconception that a lot of beginners have, is that you open up WordPress, you got your domain name, you got your homepage set up, you got everything good to go, and then it's SEO optimized, it's user friendly, and that's just absolutely not true.
Yeah. Now, I mean, once it's installed, once you have WordPress installed, it's very important that you're very selective on what templates you use. Unless you're building your template yourself, it depends on your level of expertise. But when you're choosing a template for WordPress, you want to make sure it's something that's not heavy. And the way you can tell is a lot of the WordPress themes have, like if you go to, Theme Forest or something like that, you can go on and look at the site, see how it loads. You can even do a load test with like Pingdom tools or something like that. Now, the way they have those set up is basically, a default setting. So it'll give you a good idea. And you can also look at the code on the site if you know how to read code. And make sure it's not heavy, like it's calling like 50 different JavaScript files or CSS files. You want to try and keep those minimized. Now, there are plugins that you can use that will combine those or minify those, and that'll speed up your site.
Yeah.
But you want to try not to go with something that's just pre-built unless you're a beginner in using WordPress.
Well, I think one of the things that attracts those seeking to build their own website and have it out there is the whole free aspect.
Yeah.
And I think when you're choosing a theme, of course, when you're kind of building your site, you're first choosing your theme. I think a lot of people have the questions, well, are the free themes, are they worth anything? Are they actually going to help me? Is it something I can use? And I think it's kind of a yes and no kind of thing. If you're getting a theme, personally, if you're going to build a website, I say you go all out and you do it. Yeah. You do it as as put all your effort into it. If you got to spend a little extra money, that's fine, because I firmly believe that you're going to get a return on your investment. But when you choose some of those free themes, they have limitations on them on what you're able to do, especially from an SEO standpoint. And so you really have to be selective at what type of theme you're going to be choosing if you're going to go the free route, and make sure that it's not putting up those barriers where you can't really kind of manage what's going on with the site. If there is an issue, you can actually correct it. So you have to be selective in what type of theme you are actually choosing.
Yeah. Also, you want to make sure that if it is a free theme, make sure you get it from WordPress.org.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, if you go to a third-party site, usually they embed all kinds of links inside the back end of the page, and you end up getting, just giving link credit to someone that...
super spammy, too.
Yeah.
Super spammy.
Yeah, and usually it gets them penalized anyway. Because, But anyway, so let's start with building a page. So when you build a website on WordPress, the first thing you want to do is, you want to make sure it's responsive, where it's mobile friendly. Next, you want to make sure that you optimize. My Google now just blew up. Anyway, you want to make sure.
Well, let's just take a step back real quick, Rob. Now, when you say it's responsive, just kind of touch a little bit on that, on what you mean as far as responsive goes. Yeah. So, somebody be like, well, responsive, how do I know if it's responsive?
So if you talk to it and it answers back. No, I'm kidding.
On point. Perfect.
Responsive design is where it will shrink itself to whatever device you're on. If you're on a mobile iPad or a tablet or an iPhone or an Android phone, it's going to shape to fit and to whatever size it needs to be.
Yeah, and that's browser too, and that's part of the user experience, because nothing is more aggravating than when you visit a site, especially on a smaller screen, or you have to have the window kind of condensed a little bit and you can't see everything that's going on. So yeah, responsive. So that's one thing. If your site is not responsive, you want to definitely check out.
Yeah. Now you want to also, when you're evaluating the template you want to buy, when you're looking at if it's responsive or not, you want to make sure that the template, it lays out right, because again, it's user experience. So you want to make sure that even on a mobile phone or a tablet, that you still get that quality experience when they're visiting your site. Obviously you can, if depending on your skill set, you can manipulate that to look better and that type of stuff.
Yeah. Well, navigation is huge. I mean, you don't want, I use this in previous shows, you don't want the user fighting against your website and having to really put some effort into finding what they want to read about, what they want to see. You want to make it as laid out, as simple to find as possible. That's going to keep your bounce rate down. That's going to keep the user on your website. That's going to keep them interacting with your content. And so, some people just choose okay, I got this navigation bar, great. We'll just leave that as is. It's not really how you want to do it. You want to make sure that your tabs, everything you have going on, it spells out, it directs the user where you want them to go and allows them to find your content, your products, whatever it may be, as easily as possible.
Yeah. Now, the number to call in if you want to call live with your questions, it's 855-722-0006. We are taking any and all your questions regarding to digital marketing or social media, you name it, conversion optimization, any of that. But the topic right now is WordPress and SEO.
Yeah, and if you are listening on Sprecher or any of our other outlets and haven't tried Blab yet, we are on Blab today.
Yes.
So if you want to go check out the handsome devil that Robert O'Haver is, go ahead and check it out and get some good interaction today. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us today on that as we do talk about WordPress SEO.
Your sarcasm is very subtle.
Oh, no. I meant it from the heart.
No, but we also we embedded it on our website. So if you go to searchtalklive.com, you can see us there and listen to the actual live broadcast. It's a little different than what you're hearing on Blab.
Yeah.
So back to the subject. Now, once you've picked out your template and you've got your idea of your design, the first thing you want to do is obviously do some keyword research. You want to research your site, depending on your niche or industry you're in. You want to go and find those keywords. And that's a whole nother show. But
we've talked a lot about that before. And there's many ways that you can do that. AdWords, of course, researching your competitors, kind of see what they're focusing on, seeing other variations of the same type of keywords that they're focusing on, maybe you can take advantage of. And so there's many things that, ways that you can do that. But when you're first establishing your site, especially for your homepage, you need to make sure that you have a focus for that page, and it's not necessarily centered around one keyword, but it's centered around one idea, and you're focusing on that idea and you're building around it.
Right. Now, let's see, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, my bad. I keep cutting you off.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So what you want to do is obviously you want to write your content and in a way, actually back up. We're going to back up. Plugins. First you want to start out with, and this is only my preference, you can use anything you like. But Yoast is an SEO plugin. It allows you to put in titles and meta descriptions in an easy way. And it also allows you to do redirects or no follows, no indexes. It allows you to do canonical tags, all that good stuff.
It's kind of the all-in-one.
It is.
I mean, it lays it out for you, and you need to make sure that you see all it has to offer, especially with the titles, the descriptions. The one thing I will say, and we've talked about this before, Rob, is it has the little green light, yellow light, red light thing for the SEO and the keyword. Yeah, don't worry about it. I know a lot of people say, well, I got to get it in green. I have to get it in green or else it's not SEO friendly. But it does everything else that you need it to do. It provides an easy template for you to insert your meta descriptions, your titles, to see how it's going to look in the search engines. It provides a little snippet at the bottom so you can make sure everything fits nice and tight. But when you see that light system, you kind of ignore it a little bit. You don't really have to focus on that because...
Well, let me explain that a little bit. So, like what that lighting system is, there's a red, yellow, and a green.
Yeah.
Basically, what Yoast goes off of is exact match anchor text. And then if you have a 3-word phrase or something you're using, then it's going to give you a green light if you utilize it enough times in the page and titles and all that stuff. And a lot of times your phrase, you're going for long tail, or you're going for something that just, it doesn't make sense to throw a million times. And in today's world, in SEO, as everyone knows here listening, Google, I mean, a lot of it is mobile searches, and it's done with a more natural speaking tone, like, how tall is Mount Everest or something like that, just for an example. But so you got to do your research on keywords, and there's a lot of great articles out there that can help you with that. We'll cover that in a future show. But the main thing is get that on par.
Yeah.
Now let's start with let's say title tags, or not title tags, but the title of the page. You want to make sure that does include your keyword, but you want to make it no longer than 58 characters.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Google's about 6 months ago, Google's No, it's been longer than that. It's been a year. Time flies. But Google, on the search results, it'll go up to 58 characters, and it'll allow you to put a full title. You don't want to have that cut off.
Yeah.
And you really have to think about that as almost in a marketing way. So, like, if you see AdWords, you see the ads on the sides and top, those ads make you want to click on those ads because someone took the time and wrote those out in a way that it's kind of a link bait, or not a link bait, clickbait. So you want to think it out really well and in a marketing mindful way, but it also needs to be descriptive.
Yeah. Well, I would expand on a little bit for your titles. You don't want to keyword stuff it. I think I saw. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm reading the comments.
We're not talking on the same mic, same studio, not same mic. But Google is very upgraded to where they can recognize variations of the same keyword. So you've used this one before. Is that if you're searching for largest boat, you're going to see on page 1 largest ship or something, variations of that word.
Very good.
And so
Yes, well said.
you don't have to go so keyword specific and just think, okay, if I don't do this, I'm not going to show up. If I don't include boats in my meta descriptions and in my titles, you might want to do it once, but you can also include, you might want to have boats in your title and ships in your meta description. You can, you can mix it up, but they're very good. The search engines are very good at recognizing the content, the gist of what you're talking about, the quality of that content, and whether it's going to be a valuable resource for the user and what they're searching for.
Very well said.
Thank you, sir.
So, and then now we move on to the meta description. The same thing. You want to make sure your keyword or variation of keyword is in that description, and you want to try to put that in there in a way that it makes a really good sense of the site. You're not trying to write this for the search engine. Because when somebody does a search, what are they looking for? They're wanting to find an answer or solve an issue to their problem.
Yeah.
Or something they're looking for.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you're writing it for people, not for search engines.
Yeah, I think the more you do for the search engine, the less you're doing for the user. And so, you're kind of hurting yourself when you're doing all that. So you got to keep the user in mind when you're doing all this.
Yes. So you obviously want to have something in there, your keywords or a phrase in that meta description. Next, you want to move on to, let's say, H1s. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. So you have, those of you that don't code, there is a tag that's called an H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. And the lower the number, Google assigns a more, how would you say it? The more authority it has,
Yeah,
I guess.
authority or importance.
Yeah, importance. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. But so you're going to take that H1 tag, and in that H1 tag, don't take your title of your page and put it in there. Make a different variation of the same thing that has your keywords. You're going to get a lot more mileage out of the H1, the meta description, and title than most of anything on the site. Because what you're doing with those 3 different signals that we've already covered, you're giving Google a clear signal on what your site is about or what it offers. So, and you want to make it specific to that page, unless it's the home page. You got a little different approach there. You want to kind of cover everything there. But let's see. You want to keep the I got to back up. The meta description needs to be 164 characters max. If you do 164, it is going to get cut off.
Yeah.
You're probably better around 154 just to be safe.
Well, and the good thing about Yoast is they have whenever you're creating a page, whenever you're creating a post, it has the section at the bottom where you can actually see what it's going to look like in search engines. And so if you have your meta description or you have your title and you see the ... you want to do some, working around to make sure everything's fitting in there. That's good SEO practices. It's better for the search engines. It's just more clear cut. And so you just want to make sure that, all that kind of fits in there. Yeah,
if you're doing a post, if you're a blogger and you're doing posts, you want to keep the title of your, at least the page title, short, long enough to where it's not going to get cut off. You got to be creative there. So it fits and it doesn't get cut off, because you want people to be, I mean, if your title's a catchy title, you obviously want to make it to where it doesn't get cut off because it loses its value there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you definitely want to keep that in mind when you're doing it.
Yep.
Let's see. And then we go to content. Obviously, content is king. That's what they say. You want to have quality content, quality written content. You want to write it in a manner that brings value to the reader, not for the search engines. Okay. Like, I know I keep saying that, but there's so many people that fall into that trap. So you want to take your content, do your research. You obviously want to include, your keywords or phrases or a variation of that phrase, like the example that Caleb used. You're starting with your analogies, just getting like mine, man. Yeah. But anyway, like ships versus tugboats or whatever. The example is, you're talking about the same thing, but in a different way. But Google understands that stuff. And then also, depending on if you're a local business, and I need to back up there. I did not cover that on titles and descriptions. But if you are a local business, you want to make sure you use citations that, if you live in a certain city, you obviously want to have that city in your title or or both in your description of so Google has that signal that, hey, these guys are in, for example, we're in Orlando.
Yeah.
So you want to use that. And don't worry if you're in a small town that's near Orlando, for this example. There's a algorithm called Pigeon. Pigeon works on a way that, so, if you're in a city nearby and there is really not a lot of competition in Orlando, it looks out in the surrounding metro areas and it'll grab that information as well. Google's pretty good at knowing that information. Again, if you have questions, you can call in. Hey, number is 855-722-0006. We are sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
Yep.
Anything else to that?
RobertPalmerCompanies.com.
Yes.
Yeah, we appreciate their sponsor and everything that they do for Search Talk Live. They help us out tremendously. And so a big shout out to them. So I think one of the big things with WordPress and one of the big things that, is talked about are plugins. Plugins, they seem to have a plugin for everything. And if you're not careful, you're gonna.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, you're gonna
skipping around here today.
You're gonna download so many of them that you're gonna end up hurting your website. And so, how many plugins should you have? What type of plugins should you have for your site? Using too many plugins is pretty much
it'll weigh your site down. It'll make it really super slow. And I kind of got off the topic of plugins, but
no, you're good.
I do want to go back on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like you said, if you download so many of them, it's going to make your website very slow. Having to continuously update those can alter the code on your site. It can change a lot of things, can cost you some rankings. So, you got to be careful with the plugins you're using. And I always say, if you can do it manually, do it manually. But if you need a plugin, something to where you can, a social media plugin where people can share your content through social media and stuff like that. Those are all awesome.
My buddy Kristen just said she had once 42 plugins.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of plugins.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of plugins.
Yeah. So you want to be a minimalist. It's not like a mobile app. There's a plugin for that. It only use what you have to. And if you need simple things that you could probably figure out yourself, that's the way to do it. Stay to Yoast. If you're doing some kind of a form on your site and you don't know how to code, you can do those. Those are quite easy to do with a plugin. But other than that, I would just keep it to a minimum.
Keep it down. I mean, there's some speed booster packs that'll help, speed up your site and stuff like that, which can be very helpful. And they have a lot of tutorials and stuff that you can read through that is going to help your site. Stuff like that is going to be very beneficial. But if you just keep loading it up with plugins and loading it down, your site's going to be slow. It will impact your rankings because it's going to hurt your user experience. They do take that kind of thing into effect. And so, just be careful with the plugins that you use. And if you don't need it, or if you have plugins that you downloaded are not using, go delete them, get them out of there. And, just like Robert said, be a minimalist when it comes to using WordPress plugins.
Yeah. Now, once you've got everything in place, let's see, we've talked about quality of the content. What else? I know. Once you've got and back at the beginning, when you're doing all this, when you're setting up your site, you want to go into tools or actually settings and block the search engines from reading your site. There's a settings in that tab that will help you, will keep it from being indexed when you're creating your site. And yeah. So anyway,
yeah.
Now the next thing you do once you've built your site and you've got the pages up, you want to do a speed test, and you can go to tools.pingdom, pingdom.com. Is it .com?
Yes,
I think it is. But anyway, and it'll do a speed test, and it'll actually give you a breakdown of what's loading and how fast it's loading, and all that stuff. Once you've got that done and you're satisfied, you want to keep your site down to around 2. Obviously, the lower the better, but an average speed is around between 2 and 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And then what you want to do then is let's go to images. This is one thing a lot of people really screw up. You want to make sure your images are optimized.
Yeah.
And what I mean by optimized is usually when you go to like an iStock or something like that, you're going to get an image that's really large. So before, you had to take it into like a Photoshop or something like that to shrink the image down and get it down to a good size. But now with WordPress, now you can go into and edit an image just by clicking on the image and then going to the edit screen. It'll let you shrink the size down, and it'll optimize that image to a good size so it loads fast. Now the other thing with images is there's also in that edit screen a section for alt text. You want to change that, and before you upload your image, you want to change the file name. The biggest thing I see a lot of when people get stock photos is they've pretty much optimized their site for iStock because all their file names, images, all say iStock and then the number.
Shutterstock,
yeah,
this big long URL that's just crazy.
Yeah, you want to name that, something in one of your phrases you're trying to target.
Yeah, change that. Always change the alt text. You want to be just direct on what the image is and the content it's associated with. That's going to help Google, understand what that image is about, because obviously they can't crawl the image.
Remember what John Mueller said? They said they have a pretty good job now that they can do that.
Yeah, I forgot. Mr. Mueller.
Yeah.
Good say.
So they can somewhat read images.
Yeah, they somewhat, but still, this is going to help it completely understand what it's about and help with the content as well. And so you do definitely want to optimize that and make sure that you don't have these huge, outrageous images on your site that are going to, once again, slow down your site, take forever to load, and it's going to be like back in the day in AOL 95 when it was, inching its way down the screen. You don't want all of that. You want it as fast as possible.
Exactly. Now, we are taking questions. If you have a question for us, put it in the chat box, or you can call us live on the air at 855-722-0006. And Caleb, can you put that in the chat there?
Yeah.
And it's option 1. So you want to, when you call the number. Any questions? Great. I love it when there's no questions. No, but so moving on, we got the images. So we cover images. You want to make sure also in the footer of your site, when you build that out and you build links down there, you want to don't go crazy. You're not trying to, that's not a place to put keywords and all that stuff. It's just a map to your site, basically.
Yeah.
To the important pages of your site. And then before you go live, obviously you want to set up your Google Analytics, have that running. Then you want to have your Google Search Console or Webmaster Tools, whichever you call it. They did change the name recently. You want to have all that information, because so when you take your site live, any problems with the crawl or anything like that, you're going to have that information right there on the Search Console. Now, once you set up your Search Console, you got your code in place and all that, you want to make sure that you submit your sitemap once you're finished the site completely.
I'm glad you said that.
Once you submit that sitemap, it is vital to do that, because that's Google's roadmap to your site.
Yeah.
It's going to tell Google where all your pages are and make sure they get indexed.
Yeah. And the good thing about Yoast is they generate that sitemap for you, and they allow you to access it easily and then submit it. They have each one for you. So you submit it to Google. If you don't, you'll see your pages getting indexed, but it's going to take probably quite a bit of time. This is going to speed up the process. This is going to help Google recognize your site, your pages, your content much quicker, and you're going to appear in the search results much faster. So definitely make sure you want to do that. It's going to be much better for your site and getting in front of your audience and reaching a new audience.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that about the sitemap, because as far as Yoast, a lot of people will link to the page that says sitemap_XML. You want to point that link to the actual XML file, not that page, because you're going to end up getting errors that way. So if you do it that way, you should have no problems.
Yeah.
And then also test your site look at it on mobile. A lot of people go, oh, my site's responsive, and do not pay attention to that mobile part. They think it's cookie cutter. Once the desktop part is done, it's done mobile wise too. So you want to make sure everything looks right, because again, that's user experience, and that's what Google is all about. And you should be all about too. So, you obviously want to sell something or get someone to, sign up to your site or whatever. Now, the other thing, there is one more plugin I do want to recommend. And John Mueller turned me on to this, and I've actually seen it work. And Kristen, I know you said you haven't had any good experience with it, but it's PubSubHubbub. What a name. But I will post that in the chat here. I've had good experience with it. It does, I do get indexed faster when I do posts on that. Anyway, that's there. Let's see.
I think an awesome topic to talk about, especially with WordPress, is categories and tags.
Categories and tags.
When you're submitting,
yes,
you have categories,
absolutely.
And you have tagging.
Yes.
Duplicate content, not using those correctly, and kind of having stuff all over your website that's not very well organized.
Yeah. So when it comes to category pages, at least in a blog of your blog, now you're not, a lot of people, there's a lot of misconception you're going to get a penalty for having duplicate content on your site. After talking to John Mueller, he kind of set the SEO world straight when it comes to that. Or at least the people that were listening to the conversation.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get a penalty on those sites. If you have duplicate content, what will happen is Google will index one and drop the other.
Yeah.
And the best way to tell Google, hey, I've got a duplicate page, is using a canonical tag.
Yeah.
Now, the canonical tag, what you do is you take one of the pages that is a duplicate, and you point a canonical tag to the original document. And that way, it will tell Google, hey, don't index this one, index this one.
Yeah. This one's more important, this one's more relative, and this is the one I want you to see.
Yeah. And it seems to help. I mean, Google seems to be paying attention to that. You also want to, on category pages, now this will save time in indexing your site. As far as category pages, you want to no index follow those pages. So basically you're telling Google, hey, I want you to index this category page. I want you to follow this category page and follow all the links that are on it, but I don't want you to index it. And the reason being is Google does see that as a duplicate content, it won't rank that page as well, a category page as well anyway. So basically what you're really going after is is ranking those posts to get that traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes you get on a site and you just see I know we've seen it a few times, is just tags galore, just tagging everything, multiple things. It's just kind of all over the place. You only want to make sure that it's why categories and tags. It's good for users to find your content, to interact with your content, to get where they want to go, and increase engagement and help traffic. You want to make sure that everything is relevant to what you're doing, where you're putting that post, and you don't want to put it in so many categories and tag it with so many things. Just make sure it's all relevant, and make sure that it's neat and it's categorized properly. Because honestly, you can kind of hurt your site, you can kind of hurt the user experience. It's kind of showing up everywhere. Not only the duplicate content issue, but it's just it's always there. It just kind of looks messy, and so you want to clean it up.
Yeah, I mean, let me explain to you what happens when you do tags on your blog, on your post. Every time you create a tag, it creates another page, a duplicate of that page.
Yeah. And
then eventually what will happen when you get into the thousands of posts or hundreds of posts, Google's going to be like, it's going to hit your site less, because it's like, oh, this site's just nothing but copies and copies and copies of the same thing.
Yeah.
You really want to structure your site so that it is optimized for Google. So Google can go in and, hey, it has all the answers and the roadmap and how it's laid out and everything. So you don't want it to waste time on pages that it's not going to index anyway, because you have those duplicates. So a good way why does my Google Now keep popping up? Anyway, you want to make sure that I block tags. I mean, honestly, it keeps Google from going. When I say block, I do a no follow on those. And there's a plugin for that. And it's a very simple plugin that I use, and it's very lightweight. Where is it? It's Duplicate Content Core. Duplicate Content Core. So if you do that, what it does is it'll block those tags and allow Google to understand your site and be able to crawl it optimally, and not waste its time trying to index pages that don't really, matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that will help you a lot. If you keep your site clean in that way, you're going to get a lot more crawls on your site, and you'll see more and more pages getting crawled more and more just by doing those simple techniques.
Yeah. See, it's going to basically, the Google bots are going to go where you're directing them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to follow. You're basically telling them where to go. Sure, they're going to find you and they're going to crawl what they want to crawl, but you're basically directing them where they need to go. And so if you have kind of a screwed up roadmap, they're going to go all over the place. But if you're directing them pretty clean and, show them, hey, here's this, this is what this is about, then, you're going to have no issues.
Yeah. And another thing I would add too on Road, John Mueller was very clear on this when we talked to him, is your robots text file should not be blocking anything on your site. If you need, everything should be followed, not everything should be indexed.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, don't block your plugins and stuff like that. And the reason being is if you block a plugin that's using CSS and it's part of the structure of your site, it's not going to read the site right. Because it's not going to be able to render that as a Google bot was supposed to, or a person would. And that's what their whole goal is. So that's important, especially if it's rendering something for mobile and you're going to get an error when you do a mobile friendly check on the console, Search Console.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in with us, this is Search Talk Live with Mr. Robert O'Haver, and I'm Caleb McKelvin. talking a word about WordPress SEO. If you want to call in, 855-722-0006, option 1. If you got questions, concerns, comments, we'd love to hear them. Talk about digital marketing. We are powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies, robertpalmercompanies.com. Big shout out to them for helping us out here at Search Talk Live. And also our man, Mr. Dave.
Yes, our engineer.
Our engineer powering the show.
The man of the hour.
Yes, big time. Couldn't do it without him. We definitely appreciate it, Mr. Dave.
Yeah. So you got about 10 minutes left, or 20 minutes, 20 minutes left. We can take your calls. If you call in at 855-722-0006. Kristen, I hope you've got some questions you can call in too. It is a toll-free number, 855-722-0006. And we can answer your questions. We're talking about WordPress if you just joined us, and SEO for WordPress and kind of optimizing. Now, once you've got everything in place, again, run a speed test. Especially if you're using these big banners or you're playing video in the background, you want to make sure your site is as fast as possible. Because let me tell you, I have done sites where taking 2 seconds or 3, even 1 second off will make your difference. Ranks jump in probably, it could be anywhere from 8 to 10 spots higher on search results just from the speed.
Well, the tool that you had mentioned, Pingdom Tools, if you just enter in your, put in your URL, it'll show you exactly which one is slowing down. Yeah, your site. It'll give you the whole bar and how long it took to load each one and which one's making the biggest impact. And that's very helpful because you can go out and you can, you can tweak it, clean it up. If you got to eliminate it, you can eliminate it, whatever it may be. You need to smush it, make it smaller, and make the file smaller. But that's an awesome tool to use to make sure that you can see what's actually impacting the speed of your site, because it's very surprising how just a second or two can make a huge difference when it comes to your rankings. And it's they take that into account when they are providing these results in the search engines.
Yeah, and I want to give also, I got to tell you guys, if you haven't tried Blab yet, you've got to try it. I know I'm going off topic here.
No, it's very cool.
I have met in the short time. It's really cool to place an at whoever with a face. I guess that's how you say it.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just amazing. I've met in the short span that I've been on here. It's just so many awesome people. But back to the topic. Sorry. I just anyway, I think we've covered pretty much everything on that.
Covered a lot of it.
One thing I did want to mention too is, I don't know if you've ever heard of C Block. Now, I'm not talking about the prison, but C Block is a block of IP addresses assigned to a website. So if you're building websites, one way Google finds these what do you call it, private blog networks, is a lot of people, they'll buy a hosting plan and then they'll throw 50 websites on the same server,
all linking to each other.
Yeah, all linking to each other. So that's Google's red flag, and that's how a big way of tracking those things down. So if you're and another thing that Google can make a mistake on, if you're an agency and you're doing the same thing, and you're building websites and you've got to a point where you've got 50, 100 sites under your belt, it's best to put those on separate servers if possible. Not only that, but from an SEO standpoint, you're going to get better link juice if you're linking back than putting it on your server, because then Google knows, hey, these are all somehow related.
Yeah, that's just called, they don't like to be manipulated. And when they see, all these sites basically are in one big ring trying to manipulate the system, gain links, all that kind of stuff, then they'll bring the hammer down. Yeah,
well, sometimes, they're not really trying to manipulate. They're just trying to save money.
Sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are. But either way, it's kind of a guilty by association thing. They'll see it as you trying to manipulate the system, whether you are or not. Yeah. And, you might get a warning or, some type of notification. But just like Robert said, you want to watch for that.
Yeah, and there's no worries as far as, 10 or so sites. That's not a problem.
No.
But, you get into, you start seeing a person's what they're trying to do when you have, hundreds of sites, and they're all talking about, whatever. But anyway, so yeah. Any questions on WordPress? We can answer those. I have a question. Wait. What's your thought on cache tools? I love cache tools, actually. There's one I use, and I knew you were going to hit me on this. And you can't use this tool if you're using GoDaddy, but it's Super Cache. What it does is it uses server-side and browser-side caching, as well as it'll minify your code. And I think, there we go. I thought we froze up there. But it'll minify your code, your CSS. It'll combine all your CSS and JavaScript into one thing. But for some reason, I don't know why, I'm going to try and get it off the blacklist because I really love the plugin, and it speeds the site up substantially. But if you're on a good server, the cloud or a good GoDaddy hosting, I know a lot of people don't like GoDaddy, but I have had no problem with them. I use managed hosting, so it's kind of an upgrade. It's a faster server. And as long as you optimize your images and your site and don't load it down with a lot of, one thing you were talking about, I can't see it. One thing Troy was talking about was embedding a lot of video. And those things can be heavy on your site. You got to watch your speed on that. And, or audio clips or something, because what Google does, or your browser does when it loads that page, is it loads that video. So you want to keep an eye on that. And I don't know, I haven't really checked on the Blab stuff yet, but I think it's good. It is an embed or an iframe, so it's not loading off your server, so it's not really, or YouTube. If you're using YouTube, they can do the heavy lifting as well. You should be good. And let's see. I think we covered it all, didn't we?
Yeah.
In an hour. That's pretty amazing. There's more. I just can't think about it.
Yeah. There's a lot to it.
Oh, we have it. Do we have another question? Is there a plugin that makes embedding Google Plus
post
easier? That's a great question, because I just ran into that issue just a couple days ago. There's an you really have to be a developer to know how to do it either the right way, but yes, I don't know the name of it, and I can get back to you on that, but there is a plugin. I can get back to you on that. I have you on here now, but you're welcome. Any other questions? We got about 7 minutes. No, 12 minutes. Yeah. My engineer's shaking his head. So you can call in. We'd love to have you call in. The number's 855-722-0006. Don't be shy. We won't bite you. And I promise I'll keep Caleb at bay.
I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah. So thanks for the props. If those of you that don't know what Blab is, they have a little thing where you can push buttons that says give props, and it's almost like Periscope where you get the hearts, but in this case you get props. And Kristen's given us tons of props.
Oh, thanks, Kristen. Appreciate it.
And we're even. Look at that. I'm in the lead though. I'm kidding. It's not like a game or something, but so I think you got something else you want to add?
Well,
what about the Rand Fishkin thing?
Yeah. The Rand Fishkin, not that we don't mention Moz enough on here. Surprisingly, I think this is the first time we're mentioning it today. You check out Whiteboard Friday, and for you SEO digital marketers out there that are just like me, who do a lot of outreach, a lot of content creation, a lot of, trying guest posting and stuff like that. It's I'm actually going to post it in the chat down here.
Yeah, excellent video. Rand has really come a long way when it comes to link building and that type of thing. Before he used to be like,
Yeah.
But now he's kind of like, okay, yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, if you've listened to John Mueller at all and the guys from Google, they say outreach, link building's dead. You have to get links through, just naturally people seeing your content, linking to it, through you sharing it through social media and other people, reading it, sharing it, so on and so forth. So you don't really need to focus on link building, which I believe is a bunch of hogwash, because links are
the main part of their algorithm.
Yeah, it's one of the main parts of their algorithm. It's a huge ranking factor. And, I know there's been some studies done to say, well, we didn't build links and we still were able to rank and stuff like that. Yeah, okay. There's a few that seep through the cracks every once in a while, but for 99% of sites, your backlink profile is a huge, factor for your rankings and being visual in search engines. And if you haven't seen this yet, you really need to. He's kind of changed his tune. We've talked about that. He's changed his tune a lot on link building. You can kind of see if you watch his other stuff from SEO in 2014, even kind of earlier this year when he did his outlook for 2015, and he talks about link building. He's kind of standoffish about it and not really sure, but he kind of dives into it on this and provides, people just, especially for smaller sites, unless you're a huge authority in your industry, unless, you just have the most recognizable brand and, you have all these authoritative, parts of your website and people really look to you as an authority, naturally gaining links is not going to happen. It's just you have to do link building or link earning, as we like to call it now. And outreach is a huge part of that. It actually, unless you're a local business, outreach is pretty much all you can do as far as good quality links, building those. We always say it's about quality now. It's not about quantity, which it used to be looked on vice versa. Kind of back in the day when I first got started. And so in this Whiteboard Friday, talking about how you can develop linkable content when you are reaching out to people. And I think that's one of the big things that a lot of sites struggled with. I've even struggled with myself is, providing that value to the site that I'm reaching out to and how it's going to benefit them. It's going to benefit me, but it's going to benefit them and their users as well. And he kind of talked on some things. I will say that I completely agree with him on infographics. I think they're helpful for your site. I think if you are writing a post, if you have, you want to boost kind of your content a little bit, I think they're awesome for your site. I think doing it for outreach purposes, it's getting you're kind of beating a dead horse. I think so many sites or, authoritative sites, others that accept, guest posts or others reaching out to them, they probably get 10 infographics a day, and they're so basic, and people kind of put these things together that they're almost boring now. They're kind of watered down, and so I don't think if you're like, oh, I have a good infographic idea, look it up. I guarantee you 1,000 other people have done it.
Yeah, and me and Caleb actually were talking about maybe doing a video together, and Caleb is like an expert when it comes to outreach and building links and stuff like that, and he can really give a lot of people insight, and I think that would be a very valuable video. Yeah.
I think kind of the things that I took away from it is one of the top kind of linkable content that you can create is unique research and data. And if you haven't really done this for your site, I think any industry can really do it. Some might take a little more digging and a little more research than others. But if you can create some unique research that provides real value and have that on your website with some visuals, some cool stuff like that, I can almost guarantee you that other people are going to find that as a valuable resource for their audience, and they're going to link to it because somebody's writing about that specific topic, and they need that research. They need that data to go along with their content, and they're going to link to it. And it's something that can be very useful in your outreach, whether you can reach out to somebody that has written something and they think, they don't have any visuals with it or don't have any data to help drive their content, reach out to them. But as far as natural link building goes, I think this is an awesome tool to use. You might want to look into it. It's very time consuming to produce this type of content.
Yeah.
And so it's not something you can really do every day. But I think if you really put some time into developing some unique research, unique data content, I think the links they're not going to pour in. If you're lucky, they will. But I think you're going to have a better chance of building that natural backlink portfolio and really get some authoritative sites that are actually linking to you.
Yeah. I like, what was it? No, I think it was Cyrus. He said, this is a good thing. Like if you have a blog post and you want to do refresh the content on the blog post. I know we're going a little off from what you were just talking about, but a great thing to do is kind of refresh that content, is move it to another page and redirect that page. That way, if you have links from an article and you want to kind of refresh that content, but I mean, that's where I'm going with the link part of it. But
yeah.
So, you have an old article, but you want to just kind of give it a refresh and re-rank it. You can do that by moving the article and changing it up, obviously, and give it a different title so that it's fresh content, but redirect that with a 301 redirect from the old, where the old blog post was, and put it onto the new. And you'll see ranks jump up just from that. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And you won't lose any link juice by moving it. So.
Right. No, definitely. This really gives he really gives some awesome insight on really what good linkable content, quality content can be. I know one, which can be difficult for some people, is the embeddable content. And that's, if you can provide a tool, if you're in the financial industry, this is huge. If you can provide some type of calculator, if you can provide, some type of, paying off debt, something of that nature. But if you can find a way to create a tool or create something that the user can engage with and that a different site can embed, that's an awesome resource. Yeah. And, not only for your site and to increase traffic to your site, but also to build those links, because every time they embed it on their site, you get that link automatically to your site.
Yep.
So, that's an awesome one. That can be, once again, all of these type of suggestions are time consuming. They can be, but link building is very difficult. Outreach is very difficult. It's hard. It's a grind, but the best thing that's going to help you is taking the time to develop that quality content, develop that quality resource, and it's going to pay off big time, instead of reaching out 1,000 emails and trying to find, being like, hey, will you link to me, or can I write a post for you, or what do you think about this? Instead of having to do that over and over and over and over and over again, because I've been there. And at the end of the day, just kind of wanted to jump out the window. Instead, you're going to be able to build those relationships. You're going to be able to really kind of have your network to reach more audiences, to have people see you as an authority, to see your content as valuable and want to link to you.
Right. Well, guys, I think we're going to wrap up the show. I want to thank all our listeners and for their support. Be sure and tune in next week, Tuesday at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, for another episode of Search Talk Live.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Search Talk Live is a presentation of the Robert Palmer family of companies.